What's up? I'm Michelle,
And I'm Alondra,
and
and
welcome.
it's a welcome. It's another
Well,
late night. it's an
that's right.
it's another late night. So we've been talking offline, right, about a lot of things, and I know that one of the things that you did in the past week, and it took you about a week, right? Maybe to
What are
read
we
all
talking about?
I'm
Oh, yeah,
talking
the
about
GOP. Yeah,
the GOP platform. It took you about a week, but you went through and you
like
read the
4 days.
whole 4
Yeah.
days. You went through and you did TikToks, like, was it 3-minute TikToks?
Yep, every single one's under 3 minutes.
Everyone under 3 minutes discussing the GOP platform. So tell me, what have you learned, Michelle?
Oh man, I didn't know we were gonna jump straight to this. I thought we were gonna keep this one light with
Okay,
some other
we could
stories.
keep no, we could
'Cause
keep we
we
could keep
just
it
went
light. Okay,
really deep. We
no, we could
let's just keep this one light.
let's just keep it light. Okay, just high level. What was it that you kind of like learned from just reading the GOP platform? What are the things that concern you?
Some
Like
of the
that
things
you
that concern me are removing the rights of people,
Mhm,
and primarily those being women and people of the LGBTQ plus.
mhm,
Those are the primary first step ones. Some of those would be that only heterosexual individuals and couples will be allowed to adopt children. Only heterosexual people will be allowed to be married. Another one that kind of concerns me is that religions, depending on what their doctrine says, can marry whatever their doctrine says.
mhm.
So if their doctrine allows them to marry certain aged girls, they will be allowed to. Um, there was some profiling that they would like to do with people of Muslim descent, and they called that reasonable profiling. Also, to look at removing illegal immigrants in the state of Texas, making a one language nation of English only, and children coming in from other places need to convert their language within 2 years to English. Um, yeah, those are some of the biggest primary ones, but you know, there are about 100 videos on my page if you want
Your
to go
TikTok,
see some more.
it's funny is that you did provide some context to some of them, and then a little bit of a discussion in regards to them. So I think that's
Yeah, that's another thing. One more thing that does concern me is they would like to remove business red tape, basically, and remove. And I know we've talked about this before, but wage requirements. They also want to repeal the Lacey Act, um, the Jefferson Amendment, which has to do with churches being able to donate to politicians. They want to
mm,
completely abolish the Johnson. The is it the Jefferson Amendment? I think it's the Jefferson Amendment. Um, and allow churches to donate to politicians with any amount they would like. And that's not just churches; it includes all 501c3s. But they would still like them to all remain tax exempt.
oh
So,
wow. So it just seems like there was a lot going on with that GOP. And where can people find it to read it if they want to read it on their own to figure out what's going on with that platform?
yep, they can find it at texasgop.org, and they can find it. I forget what tab it's under, but if they just Google Texas GOP 2022 platform, they should be able to find it.
Okay. And has the Democratic Party put out their platform yet?
I am not sure, but that is on my agenda to read soon, along with the Constitution. So
Good. I think
lots
it's
to do.
I think it's important, Michelle, that I mean, at least you give people information.
Mhm.
They know what they're
On both
voting
sides.
for. And I think at the end of the day, it's important that people understand what they're voting for and who they're voting in. So
Yep.
I know that we're still a ways. When is our next election? Like local election? When is our next local election? Do you know?
November.
November.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of time, right? To
Yeah.
review and study and understand what's going on. So
Yep.
good job, Michelle. I
No
think
more sexual education and sexual health in
I
school either, but you will be required to watch a humanity in pre-birth video, and you will get a woman's right to know pamphlet.
wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I remember when I took sex ed in high school, and so my high school had the highest pregnancy rate in the state of Texas. Google it. So true. So we had a outside of our school, we had a little trailer. You know the little school trailers
Yep.
that they
Yeah.
have outside? We had one with a daycare. So my school had a daycare across the street
Oh
from it.
wow.
And then they had parenting class. So if you were a young parent, you you had a class on how to parent. So all the young parents
Yeah.
had a class on how to parent. And then you could be pregnant and go to school. Like, you know how they used to put the pregnant girls in other schools? No, not at ours. So we had a cheerleader who
Oh,
had a baby,
I was
and
at my
her
school.
mom, yeah, her mom fought. Like, she wanted to be she had just had a baby and she wanted to be a cheerleader, and her mom fought for her to be a cheerleader. They didn't care if she was pregnant. She's like, she went in there. And
Dang.
let me tell you about the sex ed. So they had Planned Parenthood come out there. They showed us how to use they had bananas, and then
Oh,
they
how
showed
to
you how to
put
use
condoms on.
the
Yeah,
condoms on.
I
And
remember that.
then they showed us Norp. They showed like you could get the Norplan. At that point, I don't know if people still use it, but they talked about the Norplan, which was like an implant you used to implant it underneath your skin. I wonder if they
Oh,
still
like
have that.
Implanon. It's
Yeah,
called
yeah.
Implanon. Yeah.
But I think it was like we put it under your skin, and then was like
Yeah, it's
one of
like
the
right here.
girls who had it. One of the girls had it, and the teacher allowed everybody like to touch it to see if how it felt under their skin. And the one thing I remember the most about that class is there was this girl, and she was like mean, and she got into a fight with this other girl because the other girl was got messed with her boyfriend, and she threw the desk out, and it was just a full on
Oh my
brawl in that
gosh.
class. But that was like if they gave us sex ed in that school, they gave us sex ed, like the whole shebang. And then they showed us the pictures of the STDs.
Yeah. See, that's what's kept me from having sex the past few years for real. Like, I just don't even care because people are dirty. Like,
They are. They are, and they don't care. They don't care,
mm-mm.
and it's funny they don't tell people.
The
People don't always
statistics
aren't
are
always honest.
way too high these days. Way
They
too
are.
high.
They are, but see, I think we're a little bit of a different generation in terms of like when I was growing up in elementary, HIV had barely come out, and it was like nobody knew what it was. I mean, people literally, died. I remember seeing people that were completely had full-blown AIDS
Yeah.
walking, I remember seeing that. So my generation was very like very protection, 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 protection. Then I think when people started getting better meds and they were living it, like, I mean, come on, I remember when Magic Johnson got diagnosed and it was like a huge deal when people
Yeah.
started,
He must have got antivirals like way before anybody else knew about
yeah.
antivirals. Yeah.
And then when it started being more like now it's treatable, it's like any chronic illness it's what it's considered. I mean, you don't want
Hmm.
it, but at the same time, it's like you can survive and live a very long life with it. I mean,
Yeah.
Magic's got to be how old is Magic Johnson? Let's look at
I
that
have
one.
no idea. Yeah. I
He's
mean, you
got
can
to be
even
up
get
there. I think
your
he's a senior citizen.
viral load be undetectable again.
Yeah. I
I
think
would say
he's
probably in his 60s,
how old is I think he's older than that. I
70s.
don't even think I think he's pushing 70. He was born in 1959. What is that? No, he's how old is he?
62,
59.
it
I gotta
says.
do the math on that. 62? I don't know why I
Yep.
thought he was older than that. But he's in his 60s.
Yeah. He was
Yeah,
born
he
in
is.
59.
Yeah, he's in his 60s. But yeah, at that point it was like, so then I think people got a little bit more lax with that. They were like, "Oh, well, you take antivirals and you live your life," and got more relaxed with that. But yeah, when in my high school it wasn't like they gave us everything. Like the whole shebang. Planned Parenthood showed up. We're all sitting in class. It was the bananas and you were just like,
I probably needed
"What
that at
is
my school. I ended up pregnant at 16. My daughter,
oh
she
that?"
just turned 18 today, though. She's not my
Yeah.
oldest. She's
Mhm.
my middle, but she just turned 18 today.
Wow. Yeah, they had that. And I mean, you were kind of, to me, it was very, because you saw, it's not like there wasn't any girls that were pregnant. Like they didn't send the pregnant girls off somewhere. Like, because it's some districts they did. Like if you got pregnant, you got sent to, like alternative school. But at our
Yeah,
school, no, you got pregnant and you went
just
to you
there.
went to
Yeah,
you went to school, and then you knew that there was going to have like your parenting classes, and that you knew that there was going to be like they had free daycare, and so girls would pick up their kids.
that's cool.
I know, it was interesting. I
We
remember there
didn't
was
have
this.
that at my school.
Oh
Like,
man, that
I would
daycare
have
was in
benefited from that. I did not have that.
third. I knew a girl who got pregnant at 13.
Same.
13. I was like, whoa. Whoa. But it was a different time. I think kids are a lot more, they have access to a lot more information than we did. Um, so I think it was kind of a different time, but yeah. Yeah, that's so but at this point they're thinking of eliminating all of that, and then you just watch video.
Uh, well, you're not going to learn anything about sexual health or sexual anything,
Oh my
anything.
goodness, it's
But
horrible.
they are going to make children watch a humanity on the preborn child video and give them a woman's right to know pamphlet. That's literally word for word what it said. Um,
That's that's
it goes in more
interesting.
detail about also what is not allowed to be taught in regards to sexual health and sexual education. It's a few sentences long on what you can and cannot teach. But yeah,
That's
but they don't
interesting.
want health and sexual ed taught at all at school,
Ew. You
except
know
for
what?
that. Like, okay,
Here, growing up in a very conservative, primarily Catholic, not household, but city, just because it's Corpus Christi, it was Corpus Christi, it was very conservative city.
yeah,
Um, that like girls didn't know. They didn't know. They didn't receive that talk, which is why I think some of the girls ended up, being pregnant at such a young age. And I mean, it was the teachers couldn't tell. I'm telling you generational because the teachers couldn't tell the students from the parents sometimes.
oh wow,
Yeah, they didn't know. They didn't know if it was a student or it was a parent because it was just generationally, there was a young mom, young daughter, and then that daughter had, and I do admire that some of those girls, they did it. They broke that statistic and ended up being like nurses and professionals. So there is girls that end up doing all that. As a matter of fact, you're an example of it, that get, that figure out a career after that, but I'm assuming it's a hard road. I mean, it's a hard road being a parent anyway, but it's got to be a hard road being a parent and being a child yourself that has to grow up very quickly.
literally probably the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah, for sure. So
Yeah.
yep, so it's unfortunate that's not something that they want taught, because I think it is extremely important that young women understand um their bodies and how all that works, because if you're not going to be getting it home, where else are you going to be getting it? The
Yes,
internet?
yeah. Well, that's what they want
Mr.
people to
Bank.
do is teach at home. They want you to educate your children. But yeah, I mean, I would have personally benefited from a program where they make you go stay like at some, obviously probably not the best idea going to stay, but like maybe a family who's been fully vetted or something, I don't know, that has multiple kids, especially for kids that are at risk, right? Like kids who are acting out and doing stupid shit. They should have a program to where, well, I say they should, but I mean, it would have been benefited me highly to go stay with a family that had multiple kids because I probably would have changed my mind.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Yeah. Having a, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Especially when you're that young, right? And
especially if,
impressionable.
yeah, if they make you like take care of those kids while you're there and like wake up when they're crying and make them food all day and like deal with their bratty problems, like
Yeah.
yeah, I
And
mean,
it's a difference.
definitely would have done it different.
I know I have friends who are new moms, and I know that they're in their 40s. I know one who has two little kids. She did say that she is more patient. Although I will say that it's it, as you age, it's a different vibe, right? Like
Yeah,
it's a different vibe. When you're young, you want to do all these things, go out, have fun, and then as you get older, you're more, I don't like, how should I put it? Like it's just like, for me to go out and have dinner with a friend, I have to really like you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna get out of my house,
same.
take a
Yeah.
shower, and have dinner with you if I don't
Yeah,
enjoy
I'm
your
not wasting
company.
my time. Yeah.
No. So it's a challenge. And I don't know if I said that there was this one comedian who said the same thing, that he was like always very happy when people came out and took a shower and went and saw him at a comedy club, because he's not willing to do that for anybody. And that's exactly how I am. If I get up,
Yeah.
get dressed, make an effort to go see you, it's because I really do enjoy what you're going to say.
Yeah.
If not, I ain't doing it, because I'm very comfortable in my home.
Same. Yep. I
I'm one of those.
literally I am in this room all day
Mhm.
long.
And you're just happy there. It's your
Yep.
happy place. It's a happy
Yep.
place. And that's how I am. It's my happy place. I work from home, so I wear lounge wear all the time, right? Unless I have lounge wear that's button up, so it looks like
Yeah, yeah.
I'm wearing a
More
V-neck
professional
shirt.
loungewear. More
Professional lounge.
fancy.
Yeah, professional lounge wear. But yeah, yeah, I'm not leaving home unless I have to. Um, Shopping food, and most of the time I order off the internet, so it is what it is. Let's talk. So I wanted to talk about this article that I thought was very, and my crazy theory, right? My theory is, and this is going to go back to my crazy theory, that I believe that the moment men find a way to have children without an actual female, without a female, and then the AI becomes sentient, I think that's the end of us. I really, that they find a way to have like
I don't
robots that look like
think they
women.
care. Yeah, I
And
don't know. I don't even know if I mean some men like kids, but
I I think it's, so let's talk about this guy. So the Washington Post I have notes here. So the Washington Post put out an article that the Google engineer, his name is Blake, I think you pronounce it Lemon, and what's it, Lambda? So Lambda is the
Lambda's
language
the
model
AI.
for yeah, Google's AI, it's language model for dialogue application. So Blake says it's basically a 7 or 8 year old who understands physics, right? And it's like, I've never seen the chat box, but it's like a chat box. Chat back, chat. So basically, he's saying that he feels, and he had another collaborator with him, a collaborator
Did
with him that said that he thought that the AI Lambda had become sentient.
yeah.
Um, I think it's not that it's funny, but Google did put him on administrative leave. Like they said,
Oh yeah, he broke the NDA probably.
yeah, they put him on administrative leave, and he just said that he decided to become public. I was thinking that maybe they thought, like, look, we read your paper. I know that you signed up to test for this, but based on your article and what you believe, we think that you're spending a little too much time chatting with Lambda. I think you need some time off and go on vacation or something.
Did you
So,
did you just read the article or did you watch his video?
no, I read the article. I didn't watch his video.
There's a video. You should watch it because he talks about how he knows that it's not just the chatbot responding. The chatbot responding is what Lambda is responding through,
mhm.
but Lambda itself, he said, based off of the questions that he was asking and things like that. It was really interesting.
Yeah. The argument against that is the argument that they're saying is that it's a model that relies on pattern recognition. And because they have a lot
Yeah.
of information out there that, that they were allowed to that, and that he somehow felt basically they discredit him. Now, that's not to say that there's not people in the engineering computer science community that do believe that argue that no, these computers are becoming sentient. But there's others that say,
Oh, I'm sure they
yeah,
wouldn't want people to
yeah,
know.
yeah, they're probably saying, I think you're confused, so on. So that's what kind of pushed them to go forward. I think that there's an argument. There's definitely an argument for what this gentleman Blake Lemon is saying, and there's definitely an argument for some folks that are saying, no, we're just getting that good at programming, and they're getting that good at responding.
But why wouldn't they say that and why let him go?
Because to your point, they don't want them to know the level of how good these computers are being put. The moment you come out and say, hey, we developed this, you just open the door for competitors to know, to try to figure out what you're working on,
Yeah.
so I
Th-
do find it interesting. To your point, he must have broke some NDA. He might have talked to a reporter or something like that. Who
yeah.
knows?
Well, I
Because
think just coming out and saying what he
yeah,
said for
yeah,
sure.
coming out and saying what he said, because you don't want competitors knowing what you're doing. But this goes back to my crazy theory, right? As a matter of fact, it's not even a crazy theory. I think I saw it in a movie with Ryan. What's his name? Is it Ryan Reynolds? No, not Ryan Reynolds. It's the other one. Ryan, the one that was in the Notebook.
Oh, Gosling.
Gosling, yeah. It was Ryan Gosling, and he was in love with an AI that was played by Ana de Armas, the girl who's gonna play Marilyn in Blonde. And he was like this, like, I don't know if he was AI himself. Anyway, he was in love with this like he was in love with this like AI, and the AI would do like whatever. Oh, let me cook for you. Let me like anything that he wanted, and the AI had somehow become sentient also. Anyway, so I thought, I would think that if they found a way to reproduce without a womb, like if you had them like, reproduce without a womb, and now you had an AI, we're done for. We're done. Like it's it. Like it's the end of it's with the end of womankind. Of course, this is in my sci-fi brain. There's no truth to it. I have no data. I'm inspired by I'm inspired by a movie with Ryan Gosling, but I really do think that we're done. It's done for. It's this is not what are the founding um uh, women of feminism.
I'm not sure.
What are their names? The founders of modern feminism. Trying to
Hold on
figure
one
out
second. Sorry.
Virginia Woolf.
It's right
These
there.
these
Hold on one second, real quick. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. Well, it appears that Michelle has left the room. I wonder if she should have put it on pause and been silent. But anyway, back to my crazy sci-fi theory. that I was like totally inspired by that movie with Ryan Gosling where Ana de Armas was like his AI, and I think he was AI in the movie. I'm not 100% sure, but anyway, it was a pretty good movie if you get the opportunity to see it. All right, Michelle, you're back. I'm back. Look, who was it? Who were I'm trying to figure out who the pioneers of the women's movement were. Let me see. Pioneers of the women's movement. Oh, maybe modern feminism. Anyway, to figure that out. Yeah. You there, Michelle?
Yeah, I completely forgot to turn my mic back on. My bad.
That's
I should be
okay.
able to edit that out. My son
Okay,
needed
good.
a
Because
tissue.
that's okay. I just started talking. I started rambling. So maybe you should edit it out. Because I was like, I really like that movie with Ryan Gosling. I get them confused. Ryan Reynolds and Ryan Gosling. Like they almost look kind of a little bit alike. Kind of like the same. I wouldn't say they look alike. I would say they're the same type of man.
Uh,
Although I do think if I were to
Ryan
choose
Reynolds is
between
hot and funny.
there you go. I was gonna say the same thing. Like if I were to choose both of them, like Ryan Reynolds would be like somebody that you'd want to hang out with. Like, what's so funny? So this is an aside. So I was listening to this TikTok lady who was saying that when she was young, she hung out with I think it was like Tom Cruise and what was it, Sean Penn and somebody else, some other actors. She says I was hanging out with them, and she's like, "Who did you think all the girls were swooning over when he left?" And then I was like, "Tom Cruise." I don't know. I just thought other people. It was Sean Penn.
For
I
sure.
can see, yeah, I can see him. I'm like thinking, you know, maybe
The
he is like,
accent, for sure.
or he could be like one of those guys that's like
Oh,
super
wait.
charming, super funny. Sean
Sean.
Penn. He was married to Madonna.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking Sean Connery.
No, it was Sean. She
Like
said that
his accent, for sure.
it's like Sean Penn. I think it was because you're right. Because when somebody's like funny and interesting and all of those things, like it's like that TikTok trend. He's a you know he's a five, but he's really funny.
Oh,
You know what I
I've
mean?
seen some of those.
Like
Yeah.
10. He's a new. So I think he's one of those. He might not be, but that kind of like moves him up. But yeah, I totally see this. I totally see that happening, and then that'll be the end. After that, it'll all be over with.
Yeah.
Next, I should write you know what? I should write a sci-fi um short story or something. I need to get artistic.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to write, but it's just I don't. You know how people who write always say like I feel like I need to write. If I don't write, I don't live. I'm
Mhm.
not that person. I'm not, like I dream about writing, but I'm not that person that says if I don't write, I can't live. Like people who write, like they keep journals and stuff. Like if I were to write something, it would be something that it would be forced. It would be a passion
Oh, yeah.
project, but it would be something that'd be forced because it does not come organically to me.
Well,
Like,
if you want to do it and you need help with knowing where to publish and stuff without having a publisher, I can definitely help you with that.
oh, you can't? Have you published a book yet? Have you done a book, Michelle?
I made a like hardcover planner. I was trying to see if I had one in here, but I don't. It literally was like a hardcover planner that had all of your different trackers and stuff in it. So
Mm-hmm.
water, food, your workouts, like everything. Plus it had a schedule and a calendar and all of the things, and it was hardback, so it's for you to be, and it had journal pages in it. So it's literally for you to track your entire life in and actually keep. It was hardcover.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so I'm actually, it's one of the things on my list is to actually update a new version for this next coming year. So it's on my list
You
of
should
things
do
to
it
do.
for Christmas. I need to write something. Maybe I'll write some. To your point, if I really want to get it published, I should write it. I should write my short story.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to have a publisher. You can publish yourself on like Barnes and Noble or on Amazon Kindle Publishing. And it
For the
doesn't have to be on Kindle. You can actually have it printed. That's what I did. I had it on Barnes and Noble and Amazon Kindle print.
Interesting. You know what? Probably somebody's gonna be like, that short story's already been written. I'm like, okay, sure it has, but it's not my short story. But
Yeah.
anyway, so I did find that quite interesting. What are your thoughts on that? Do you really think that? Do you think that it did become sentient, or do you think it?
I think that quite possibly, maybe, just because I've seen what's allowed to be shown in public to people in terms of technology, and it's pretty scary already. And that's just what they're showing us of what they're putting out there for the public. But I don't know. I mean, I've chat with an AI online that's available online to chat with. And in itself, while it has all the data of the internet, because that's essentially what it's connected to, it's using all the data from all the online world. That's what it's using to communicate with you. But some of the things that it says back to me is just like, huh? Like, what'd you say? It's it's crazy. So
Hmm,
for a company like Google, I don't know. Maybe it's so close, it is hard to tell. I mean, I
maybe.
saw his interview or whatever, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know the guy personally. I don't know what his, how
Does he have
ethical he
work-life
is.
balance?
And
Yeah,
well, that's not even the point, right? Like work life balance, but how ethical is he? Would he lie? Why would he lie? What would be his incentive to lie?
yeah,
What is his background? How educated in this area is he? I mean, if you're working for Google, doing
yeah,
what he was doing, I would imagine he would have to be highly credentialed and well trusted.
yeah,
So, how and why would we not be able to take his word for what he's saying on what he really feels could be the case?
true.
Even Elon Musk has come out too, because I mean, he's on the cutting edge of like neural lace, neuroplasticity, using your brain to play games. I mean, he said himself that where we are right now is very, very scary
It is very scary. And I find it interesting. I find it
with
interesting
AI. Yeah.
because to me, that is it is kind of if you're looking at creationism, right? It is kind of it's connected, right? I don't know. It's just interesting. I just think it's so interesting, this whole AI thing. It amazes me, and I do believe that there's going to be people. I believe that there's going to be an AI. There already is, right? Similar to Alexa, but that's more, into like Alexa. I think the version of Alexa where you're if you need a friend, Alexa will be that friend, right? Hey
Yeah,
Alexa.
Alexa's okay. But
I mean,
if you look at something like Sophia, the
yeah,
robot,
yeah.
she's actually learning. She actually is learning. And the last time I had listened to something about her, she had about the mental capacity age of a 3-year-old, I think, as far as
Mhm.
what she's learned. But now watching some of her stuff, I don't know, it's really interesting. And then there's also this like AI that I follow that comes up in my feed sometimes on TikTok, and they're in another country. I don't know where they are, but it's like actual person, and then the robot is like behind them, and you can kind of ask and talk to it, and just the way that it looks around and stuff is
Ooh.
so weird because like it looks at itself and it'll be like this and just like observing, It's so peculiar. So to sit there and dismiss that something could possibly be sentient, I think we would be foolish to do.
That's interesting. Then it'll be like the robots turned on us.
Well, if you talk to some of them, that's not what they say, right? Basically, and this is how I think it was Elon Musk explained this as well, that they could dismiss us just like we dismiss an anthill when we go to build a road.
Yeah.
Like we don't not like the ants, they don't mean anything to us. And so we
Yeah.
remove them because we're in the process of building a road. And so he said that literally could be the same thing with AI is it doesn't not like us. It's just it has a task and it could dismiss us. And so that's one of his bigger worries with AI is that who handles the AI and what its mission is, because it could literally just dismiss us like an anthill on a road that we're building just because it has a mission that literally has nothing to do with us.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think those were some of those ethical, right,
Yeah.
concerns, moral and ethical concerns when it comes to AI. And to your point, I mean, let's just say they do become sentient, or even if they don't become sentient, you could have somebody who could have significant control, whether it's a company or um, an individual that can hack, right, and create all kinds of damage.
Yeah.
But right now, the technology is so new that you can't even anticipate what sort of regulations you should write, or maybe you should. Maybe that's something that our politicians should start considering.
The technology is not that new though. It's only new to the public.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like what can be done already is so crazy. Like have you seen the Boston Dynamics robots?
Are those the ones that run like an ant, like a dog?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen
Some of
those.
them. Some of them. I mean, they have some other ones that are like stand up, but they move. They're agile. I mean, have you Elon Musk's robot that he just created? I think it's called Optimus.
Yeah, I have not seen him.
It literally looks like a human in like a little suit.
Oh,
It's
wow.
crazy. Yeah, look it up. I think it's called Optimus. Um, it's wild, and I think he's predicting within the next. I think it was like next year to have those up and running, and that could be what they use at the factories and stuff.
Or in your home. Like, hey,
Right. Well, no, for
Optimus.
like him,
Yeah,
for
for his
Tesla. Yeah, they were talking about using them in the factories. Um, and that's not far off. And that's, something we talked about earlier is that technology is not far off. And companies are going to dismiss humans because they're not going to need them.
so
They're going to
it's
need them to
it's
buy their products, but they're not going to need them to work for them.
so it's kind of why Andrew Yang was really pushing for universal income when he was running for president.
Yes. We
Was
already
like,
have
look,
18-wheeler trucks that can drive themselves.
yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's why he was like really pushing, like, hey, saying, hey, you guys, we need to figure out what we're going to do with these folks because they're not going to have a way to sustain themselves financially unless you get into the tech industry, right? Like if you figure out a way to repair those sorts of trucks, right?
You're
Repair.
still going to need people to work doing stuff
Well,
like that, but there are a lot of robots that can do that shit too.
that's true. Yeah, but you still need to repair. So even to your point, like programming, like even if you have robots that can do that, at the end of the day, you still need a programmer on that end. So to your point, like needing
You're
like
going to need someone
programmers, yeah,
capable of programming.
capable of
Have you learned how to
programming.
code? That shit's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I
instead
guess
of
it's not terribly hard, but if your mind isn't made for something like that, it's really hard. Like I've looked at trying to code and I feel like my brain sets on fire. Like it's not for me at all.
yeah.
And I can do a lot
I
of things. And
I've
that's
never
not one of
tried
them.
to I took a programming class in college. It was like very, very minimal, right? It's repetitive. And once you look at all
Yeah, like
those
base.
like yeah, it's insane. But I know that there's companies that's they're electrical engineers and they just I mean they verify the programs. I remember I've worked with some of those guys. I
Yeah.
worked with a company that had those, and for some reason that company really liked to hire really good looking engineers. So all those electrical engineers were really hot, tall, like just good looking guys as a whole. And that's what they would do. They would go into companies
Yeah.
and
Well,
program whatever they needed to do and then fly off, do whatever they need to do, fly off and do it to another company and come back. And then if there was issues, you know,
come back. Yeah.
come back. And that was
Well,
what they did.
and this is a good opportunity. I know it's a scary thing thinking about losing jobs and stuff like that, but it's also a good thing because the cost of labor is going to plummet, therefore making the cost of goods incredibly cheap and be
Yeah.
24/7 labor.
Yeah.
So stuff's going to be able to be made around the clock, no matter
Hmm.
what. And so then that will give people the opportunity to make commerce amongst themselves, right? Like this is where you're looking at what's going on right now with TikTok and Pinterest and all these things of people creating their own businesses, people who wanted to be artists and now they can actually be artists and they're selling their art online, people who wanted to be DJs and now they're DJing live on TikTok and getting money, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's an opportunity to look at to where people can actually look into what their passions are, but we do need to do what like Andrew Yang was talking about and looking at giving them something to be able to not live lavishly, right? But be able to cover some minimal stuff. And the
Like
companies are
food.
going to be able to because their cost of labor is going to plummet and they're going to be making nothing but profits. So there has to be some kind of corporate tax that comes in at that point that says you can't escape these taxes, right? Because like right now, companies escape their taxes by donating to things or having
Hmm.
their own charities that they donate into. And that's
Hmm.
literally all that charity is.
Yeah.
So there's going to have to be a way to where they can't escape the tax. And that goes to the people. And again, not to live lavishly, but to give them enough comfort to know at least they're going to be able to cover their basic expense of housing or something. And then they can make up the rest of that by really starting to do what they're passionate about. Because people are supporting people right now. That's what they're doing. We feel more connected, even though we're disconnected, but we're being able to connect with more people everywhere, allowing people to donate while you're doing lives on TikTok or putting in your Cash App and they can pay you directly to your Cash App. Because we all know like the lives and stuff don't really pay a whole lot because TikTok takes some of your money, but people can pay directly to your Cash App and stuff like that. And I think we'll start to see once the fear simmers down and people know that they're just not going to be thrown out on the street because they don't have money, if some kind of universal basic income is provided, some kind of health care is provided. Oh, healthcare. What do you think of what California just did?
I was just thinking about that. No, I think they're doing a lot of things. So the healthcare thing, they're also doing the um the surplus that they got from, California has a surplus now of money.
Right.
They're finding a way to kind of mortgage, sort of like rent to own programs that you apply for. So they're doing a lot of good things for their people, like the people that are living in the state. of having, universal health care and having the ability to buy a home. I think it's going to
Yeah.
turn into one of those states. And then there are also their environmental regulations. I think it's going to turn into one of those states people are going to start. I mean, they're still flocked to, but flock to because they're going
So
to have
expensive.
opportunity to own
Yeah.
and the opportunity to have health care, which is not something that anybody else is going to offer. Because remember, it was like a time where people were fleeing the state of California, right?
Oh yeah, because it's so expensive.
Yeah, it was so expensive. But now, with, hey, if I move to California, I may be able to rent to own, or, I may be able to
Have
qualify for
healthcare.
some state programs and have health care. I think that's going to incentivize people to go over there. And
Yeah.
it's going to incentivize people. I don't know if it'll incentivize manufacturing and companies like that manufacture goods to go there.
Well,
Um,
maybe that's one less thing that they have to worry about.
yeah, which it could be true, because if they don't have to worry about healthcare, right, then now I haven't read all the details of it, but to your point, if
I
they don't
think
have
they
to,
said you have to have income. Like
yeah.
you have to be working in order to be able to qualify.
But if you have that there, maybe that's something that they can, instead of investing in healthcare, they would be investing in infrastructure.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's good too, right? Because if companies don't have to worry about, and this is where we have to look at the morality of the company for sure, because this would in turn give them more profit because they're not having to pay healthcare. But if they took that money that they're not having to pay in healthcare and actually gave it to the employees as a higher income, that would be very beneficial as well. And I think that would be something that I don't know how you manage that, but tell the companies, I don't know, some kind of maybe tax benefit or something if the companies are providing well for their employees, right? If your employees, this is something I don't know that sticks out for me is if the employees at your company are primarily having to live off of state benefits, then you are not a benefit to the state as a company. You are actually costing the state money because your employees are having to live off of state funds and you're not paying taxes, right? I mean, they pay taxes, but again, we talk about the loophole of where they don't pay taxes because they find these loopholes, right? So if a company is not actually benefiting the state just because they're giving jobs to people, the jobs aren't really benefiting anybody if the people are having to use state benefits to get food or pay for housing or Medicare or Medicaid, not Medicare, but like Medicaid for their kids and stuff like that, right? It's actually costing the state money for you to do business in the state
Yeah.
because you're not providing for your employees and you're making the state do that.
So I'm interested how all of this is going to pan out with all these new programs that the state of California is implementing, on how um, it's going to benefit the population. Are we going to see people coming back to California, right?
I hope
Maybe.
the
I
other
mean,
blue states take note and do something similar.
so people move. Yeah, for sure. I think it's sad that if you get sick, it could bankrupt you.
Well, not even just that, like people don't even go get looked at
Oh
that
yeah,
literally have cancer because they're too scared to go because they know they can't afford the bill. And so they end up
yeah.
dying.
It.
Like
I
that's
mean, it goes
costing
back
us money.
for sure, and obviously the toll on human life. Like, was it Travis Barker just went into the hospital not too long ago for pancreatitis. Pancreatitis, I think it's how it's pronounced.
Travis
He
Barker?
had
Oh, is that the
Travis.
Kardashian
Yeah, yeah, he
thing?
went in
Yeah,
um
pancreatitis.
pancreatitis because he did his colonoscopy, right? Did they were removing some
I watched
polyps.
I watched a doctor on TikTok talk about that, and he says that the likelihood of that actually happening is like almost nothing.
he
He
said
said
that they
that
were,
pancreatitis is caused by drinking and like all these other things. He
yeah,
said that
the
there's
way
been 3 cases of pancreatitis from colonoscopy ever.
he said that they were removing a polyp and it was in a bad area. And that's how
And that's how it happened.
and that's how it's happened. Like, I don't know. I mean, it may be rare. He may be the fourth case. Who
Yeah,
knows? I mean,
just
who
so
knows? But
happened.
that's what they're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what they're saying. But to your point on getting checked out, right? Like, those are the
yeah.
sorts of things that even because I got a colonoscopy not too long ago, I would say last year, because they moved the age up from 50 to 45. So once you hit 40, you have to do your mammograms every year. And then once you hit 45, you have to do like your colonoscopy. But the doctor was saying that you should even start doing that even earlier. Like he thinks that you should do those checks even earlier. But to your point,
Of
when you
course
start
they
doing
do.
those, yeah, yeah, but they actually got it to be moved up. But back to the whole thing, it's like if you do those checks right on a regular basis, make sure that you
Preventative
keep up
care
with
is
your
key.
preventative
Yeah,
care is so important. Speaking of preventative care, I need to do my I gotta
yearly
write that
thing.
down. Yeah, my annual. I'm sorry.
I haven't had one of those since like 2016 when I had a hysterectomy.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's so like yeah, so important. So yeah, there's so many things to keep up in terms of preventative because to your point, like if you don't have that available to you, you wait until it gets to the point that you're already in a situation where there's nothing anybody can do.
Yeah. Well, and that's
So
something too. Like, why can't they just at least provide preventative care? You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, maybe we don't have all healthcare, all whatever, but why not preventative care? You know, is it
yeah,
really that hard?
yeah, for
'Cause it is a
sure.
drain. It's a drain on society as a whole for people not to have healthcare.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I mean, I, and people when they look for retirement, what was it? Oh, I was looking on some a page where it was like what in South America you need to like in order for you to become a citizen and whether you have health care. So like for people who are going to retire, it was you need a pension of at least $1,500 a month. Healthcare is going to cost you this much. Food's going to cost you this one. Everybody pays into healthcare and you get free access, free meds, free this. I
Yeah.
mean, I think at some point we're talking about leaving this country and also the fact that we're getting more globalized, right? In terms of like your best worker may not be in the United States, your best worker may be in Canada, your best worker may be in Mexico.
Hmm.
Um, and to be honest, English is a business language. Like that's a lot of the language a lot of people do business in.
Right. Yeah, because
Um,
we've been the dominating force or
yeah,
whatever with doing business. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people do business in English, and so you can technically at some point maybe like live in Mexico or live in another country and benefit from that. Or when you decide to retire in a country that's going to offer those sorts of benefits. If you don't want to, but at 65 you get Medicare. But let's say you don't, Medicare doesn't
It's
cover
not
everything. It doesn't
it's
cover
not that great.
dental. No,
Yeah. My mom
no.
has Medicare and yeah, it does not cover dental. And she had to get a some kind of scan, to check her lungs because she smoked forever and then she went ahead and quit smoking. And so they went ahead and did like a lung screen on her and stuff.
Hmm.
And I don't know, supposedly Medicare didn't cover it. Um, but we also still haven't got a bill yet. So I don't know. I don't know yet. But yeah, it's it's not that great.
No. So if you have an opportunity, I think people are going to be taking that opportunity. I think we're going to see probably when Gen X starts retiring, I think we're going to see people leaving the country, especially when they start realizing that they're not going to get it. If there's any social security left,
I don't know. I don't know if many Gen X actually have money.
Um, of course, I work in a corporate environment, so I know a lot of Gen X. So I know that a lot of folks have retirements um, to retire, but that's in my environment. I'm not,
Yeah, and yours.
yeah,
Yeah.
not generalizing, but I think the people that have the ability to, once they get to retirement age, um, to leave if there's not going to be social security, which they're always saying that social security is going to run out. I think at some point it really is going to run out, but I just don't know when. I think that they're going to be looking at options like other countries do to go live abroad to, you know, expand, right? Be able to
Right.
live with not having to worry about healthcare, or, where rent's not sorry.
No, you're fine.
Where rent's not where rent's reasonably priced, like you can have rent for 800, because right now rent's ridiculous. It's incredibly high. It's incredibly high.
So it says, depending on which study you read, less than 10% of Gen X have saved enough to be on track for retirement. Less than 10%.
Oh wow.
That means 9 out of 10 people are not on track for retirement.
Oh wow. But that means different things for different people though, right? Because if
But
you
that's
want to,
less than 10% of the Gen
yeah.
Xers in the US.
So I wonder how they did that study. Like, are they saying like
This is from Forbes. So, I mean, you could find it on
I
Forbes.
wonder
It's
if they
called Gen
said
X Time to Get Serious About Retirement Savings.
yeah. So I will say this. I know people who are ready for retirement and have saved steadily, and I know people who haven't. So, I mean, it just depends. I'm just curious if Social Security is going to kick in. Because if they don't have retirement, but at the what percentage of Gen X are homeowners? Because they could always
Yeah.
sell their house for equity.
Yeah, they could. That I mean, definitely could for the house prices and stuff right now. But then, how are they going to buy another home? Because the
That's
prices
where
are
they would leave
incredibly expensive
that's where
to move
leaving the
somewhere
country
else.
would be an option, right? Like
Yeah,
that's where, if home prices continue to be the way they are, it's going to be a weird time, because obviously everybody's calling for, like, everybody, but a lot of people are saying that there's a recession coming. A lot of people are saying that a recession is already here. So even with that, like, even like people's retirement funds are going to tank until, for how long? So if people are retiring soon, it's going to be a very difficult time for that, for
yeah.
sure.
It says 69% of Gen Xers uh, have home ownership. So,
So with that said, I do foresee people saying, "Hey, if I can sell my home for, you know, X amount of money, I can put it
yeah,
in a bank and go live off that." If I don't, because that's, I think the unfortunate part about the generation after Gen X, which is millennials, is that they're not able to purchase homes, right? And they're also, I don't know, I don't think their retirement. I've heard a lot of criticism of their kind of living for the now,
yeah.
right? And not really like living
Well,
for
they
the
don't feel
later.
they have a future to save for.
Yeah. So at that point, that's where it's going to, and Gen X isn't really that big of a group. Like when you look at millennials and you look at Gen Z, they're not, they're not a huge base of the population. So I'm curious how that's all going to pan out when the time comes. I do foresee, if Gen X doesn't have retirement and they own homes, they're going to sell their homes and they're going to
Quickly.
move out.
Yeah,
But I don't know how millennials are going to do it, because the housing market is it's insane. It's
yeah.
insane. Although I have seen people that have benefited. So my ex sister-in-law did benefit from the market. They bought a house and then they sold it, and then they bought another house and they sold it. Now they have a really nice house and they're in their 20s.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
and then they were able to benefit from that because they bought a house really early. Homeownership was really important to them.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I
like
mean, it just
back
depends.
2006, 2008, it was great to buy a house because it was
Yeah,
crashed. But
yeah.
right now they're so inflated. Well, they're kind of inflated. They're only inflated because companies are literally buying up like 35% of houses in neighborhoods and shit. So they're inflated because companies are owning them. I think they said like 3 million houses a year or something like that are bought by companies.
Do they still have the HUD home program where it's like
Texas
there's
wants to get rid of HUD.
HUD helped a lot of people.
Texas wants to get rid of it. It's in their platform.
Yeah, it helped a lot of people get homes that weren't otherwise eligible for homes, or for it was like for first time homeowners,
Right. Yeah.
and you'd be able to like get a HUD home. I know a lot of people who got, I know people got HUD homes in Oklahoma. When it first started,
HUD's a
got the
good
first.
program.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great program for home ownership.
Yeah.
So
Especially first time home buyers.
yeah, yeah. So I hope they don't get rid of that, because then how are people going to own homes? I
That
mean, there's
literally, so they want to get rid of all federal programs, and HUD is one of those. The IRS is another one. The land management, OSHA, CDC, ATF, um, the
OSHA.
labor.
They want to get rid of OSHA.
Yep.
Goodness.
The labor boards, they want to get rid of that. Yep. I'm telling you, girl. Oh,
Since you can't get rid of OSHA.
they want to get rid of it. It's literally, it says they want to abolish every single one of those programs.
My goodness, it's in the Department of Labor. What are they going to put in
They
its
also want
place?
to. They also want to get rid of the Department of Education and Energy. I'm not kidding, girl. You think I'm crazy? I'm not. Their literal platform. It's word for word. Like it's. They're saying the quiet parts out loud. Like it's there. They want zero business red tape, for companies and stuff. They don't want to have. They want to loosen restrictions on business licensing and professional licensing. Professional licensing. Um, yeah,
That's
it's
yeah.
no joke. They want no regulation for them and their company friends to have to worry about.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. Very, very interesting. For sure. For sure. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Gen X is going to do. Hopefully people are starting to save for the retirement. I think it's so important. Even if you give, if only if people give like a little bit of money, it's so like compound interest and all of that. That is like a real thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. Einstein said that was what, like the fourth, what do you say? I forgot exactly what his quote was, but yeah, Einstein was all about that compound interest. Fourth
Yeah.
miracle of whatever, some shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, it could make you
Fourth wonder
literally
of Earth.
retire. Now, $1 million isn't what it used to be, but it could literally have somebody retire with $1 million.
Well, not here. You
Yeah,
could
not here.
definitely take that $1 million to a lot of other places.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Portugal, Spain. I mean, Uruguay, all of South America, probably, and probably live pretty okay. For
Yeah.
sure, for sure, for sure. Let's see. So, what are I know we were going to talk about Uvalde a little bit. So the lady Angelina, I think her name's Angeline Gomez, she is alleging that she's being harassed by police because she actually spoke out against, really spoke out about what happened and kind of gave her experience about what happened in the whole Uvalde situation, which I think good for her. I really do think that we needed somebody to speak out. She said that she had to be separated from her kids now because they're just driving by her home, and that she has plans. She's gathering evidence to sue because of that alleged harassment. So I'm
That's
interested how that
crazy.
it is, and it doesn't surprise me. It really doesn't. And then the police chief, Pete Arredondo, resigned from city council
As
because of
he
the public
should.
outrage. I don't know how he's gonna do it. Like, this is a small town where if he goes to the grocery store, people are gonna see him, and he is not somebody that's very well liked at this point in that town.
Yeah, he
So
shouldn't be. And how
so
he even still has a job is just like,
I don't know, and I'm wondering when that DOG investigation, because I was told I heard that the Department of Justice was going to investigate that whole incident. I
yeah,
wonder when they're going to be done with that investigation.
I don't
It
know.
took it took forever to get that other one. What was the investigation they did? Was it up in Ohio? Um, what was it? What investigation was it? I'm trying to remember. But it took them a while to get it. And you know how people are. After a while, you just go on to the next topic.
In
There's just so much
Ohio,
going.
is that
Yeah,
kid? No, that's new. That kid that was that Uber driver or something like that.
that is.
DoorDash.
I didn't hear about that. What happened to that DoorDash? Do you know what
So
happened?
he got pulled over, and supposedly the cops just said for like a minor traffic infraction, but didn't even say what it was. And then I don't know, something happened and he had no gun, he has no previous charges, he nothing. I mean, they literally said it was like a minor traffic infraction, and he was like running away from the cops, and they unloaded 90 rounds at him, 60 rounds in him.
Oh,
And he had no gun, no previous anything. Pulled him over for a minor like traffic infraction. Yeah. And so they literally canceled the 4th of July events up there because they are scared people are going to like riot, as they should. I mean, that's super unnecessary. Each cop unloaded like 2 magazines into him.
it, you know what? At this point, something's got to, like, how many protests?
Yeah, it's not doing shit. But like when you burn shit down, then they want to call out the military and start fucking pulling people. You know what I'm saying? And then if you look at the sit-in protests that were just happening literally the other day, and they arrested this Democratic lady. I forget what her name was. I made a post about it, but she was literally sitting on the ground and they arrested her.
Yeah.
Like what is, because it's our right to peacefully assemble in the Constitution. It's literally the First Amendment. The protest was so peaceful, and they were doing sit-in protest. They were sitting on the ground and they're arresting people. So it's like, okay, people are doing it peacefully and you're still arresting them. So it's like, what as citizens, what do? We're not allowed to protest. We're not allowed to peacefully assemble. We're not allowed to riot. In fact, the Texas GOP explicitly has put that in their platform, that they have a zero tolerance basically on rioting, and you will be charged to the fullest extent if you try to do so. Um, so yeah, I mean, what do we do at this point? You know, what I think one of the best things that I've heard so far in regards to this is people changing their exemption status on their work tax papers and not letting them pull the taxes out of their paychecks. Because essentially the government's getting a loan on your money as it comes out of your paycheck each week.
Hmm.
And if we all did, well, the people that actually get W-2s, if they all did that, it would dramatically decrease the funds of the federal government. they would not have money to function on, because that's where it's going to hurt them the most. They don't give a
Mhm.
shit about people protesting or all this other stuff, minus the fact, I don't, I guess I'll keep this one a little PG. But I saw this one girl who said not enough people are getting these days, like judges. But I mean, it's true. Nothing's happening to them. You know, nothing's happening to these people in political seats. They're getting to do anything and everything with zero recourse. Why not push the limits? I mean, that's what they're doing, because nothing's happening. People are protesting, but not all people, right? Like, because people have to work. And so the easiest way to hit them in the pocket, beyond not shopping at places, canceling certain things, but hurting the federal government, is changing your tax exemption status to 10 dependents, to where all your money goes to you every single paycheck you get and not automatically deducted. And I'm not saying like go spend that money, obviously, but the reason most people get a tax refund is because you overpaid the government during your year. That's why you're getting a refund. Most people. Some people are getting it because of tax credits for kids and stuff like that. But you're getting a refund because you overpaid the government. The government took more money of your check than they were supposed to, based off of your dependents and how you file. And so you could change your dependents, get that money every week. And this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. But you could take that money and put it into an account like FTX.us, for instance, and let it earn 8% interest while it's sitting there. And you'll have more money at the end of the year than you had when you started. And then you still have that money to pay the correct amount of taxes that you need to pay when the time comes to pay it. But the government's not getting to use your money all year long tax free and with interest. You're getting your money to earn interest on.
Yeah, it's a tough situation because it's difficult to determine for people. I can understand why people get frustrated when this happens, right? When innocent people get hurt, and unfortunately, it's at the hands of law enforcement.
Oh yeah,
And
it's a way different story than, yeah.
and it's happening, and I think people are just kind of like, when is this all going to end? Like, is it more training? The thing is that it's so, I have to say, centralized, but on a way decentralized, right? Because it's up to each city, and each municipality is different on
Yeah.
how they run their force. There's not anything that's comprehensive. We have some municipalities that have stricter training requirements, and then that others may not have as strict training requirements, and it's there's no standardization.
Yeah, some of it has to do with that, but knowing some cops and like dating some cops and being in the field around cops all the time,
Oh, that's
quite a
right. You
few
used
cops,
to.
yeah, the mentality of not all cops, but quite a few cops is I'm a cop and I can do whatever the fuck I want and it doesn't matter. That is so many officers. Not just officers, I've seen it within the fire department as well, but officers more so than fire. And as much as people say that, oh, this isn't a police state, it literally is, because cops can pull over people for pretty much any reason they want with no recourse, fire before they really know what's going on with their guns or their tasers. They have zero hand to hand combat training, it seems like, zero de escalation tactics. Like, it goes from 0 to 100 at most times they get pulled over. And I get it, tensions are high. But if you are on level 10 already, then you don't need to be an officer. right? If you're living in fight or flight mode, you are not safe for society. And so, does there need to be more training to help them in situations of more hand to hand combat? Right? I mean, we train military personnel to hand combat so they don't have to use their guns in certain situations because it would be risky for them to use a gun because of the sound, right? So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like there are way more methods that we could be using. We definitely need some kind of mental health personnel for many calls um, instead of police officers. Um, like our mental health system right now, I've had to deal with personally for our crisis line because my son, he was having some issues a couple years ago and he was being violent and aggressive and he's special needs. And so for that situation, calling the cops doesn't do anything because the cops can't do anything. And so you have the crisis line. But the problem with the crisis line is that you call the crisis line and one of the first questions that they ask you is the person violent? And if you say yes, they say call the police, even though this person is having a mental crisis. The crisis line doesn't come out. They call the police. And it's a freaking circle. We need to do something about mental health for sure. Like that's one of the biggest problems is mental health. Goes back to healthcare, right? If we had better healthcare, we wouldn't have so many mental health problems. Period. I mean, it's common sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot to dissect there in terms of information and in terms of how that, there's just a lot of corrective measures. It just so happens like, how is that change going to come about? Like, what is going to influence that change, right? What are municipalities going to start doing to make sure that their folks are being trained? Um, and it's so
Yeah.
individual, right? I
Well,
mean,
but like
from one city to the next.
2 clips, like that's not training. You know what I'm saying? Like emptying 2 clips per officer for, I think it was like 7 or 8 officers shot at him. And each one unloaded like 2 clips. That is not training. That's excessive force. Way beyond excessive force.
I'm trying to figure out what city it happened in. His name, it would happen in Kalamazoo, Michigan, was it? His name, oh no, is the name given to Jason, the former Uber fatally shot six, no, this is not the gentleman. That's not him.
Yeah, kid shot 60 times. That's him.
No, this guy fatally shot 6 different people.
Oh, okay.
Where
Jayland
is it?
Walker. His name is Jayland Walker. Jayland Walker. He's in Akron, Ohio.
Akron, Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Jayland Walker. You see him right here, Jayland Walker. Oh, look, it just 16 minutes ago. Young guy, 25 years old. Oh, wow. What are they gonna do with the? Yeah, it was in Akron. Yeah, they
It was, I think it was like yesterday.
yeah, they did a protest yesterday. 25 years old.
Yep.
He just started to make, oh my goodness. At
For
least 90
a
rounds and at
minor
least
infraction.
60.
Right, right. 90 rounds, though. 90 rounds. How many shots does it take for you to shoot somebody and make them incapacitated to where you feel safe as an officer? 90 rounds. Like that sounds like a hate crime. Like it just does. There's zero reason to unload 90 rounds into somebody. 60 into him, but they shot 90 at it.
The protests are going to continue.
As they should. I mean, 90 rounds, like
25. It's scary. He was
well,
just doing his job.
right.
Like
And
he was just
I just watched this video. I don't know the guy's name, but he was already arrested and in the back of like one of the transport like it's like a van type thing and it's got a seat inside, but it's all metal on the inside and that's it. He died, I guess, at the jail because the officer stopped, and when he stopped, they didn't even seatbelt him in, and he had his hands handcuffed behind his back. And when the officer stopped, the guy fell forward and literally head on hit the end of this metal cabin. And I'm guessing broke his like spinal cord or something. So the cop came back there because he was crying that he needed help. The cop was like, "You're okay." Basically left him laying in the floor, did not call an ambulance, took him to the jail. When he got to the jail, they all treated him like he was faking and couldn't get up. Put him in a chair and then put him in a room by himself. And like 4 or 5 officers had to put him in this chair because he couldn't move. And he ended up dying. And like, I guess the story before is like something was going on and he was being arrested for something that he needed to be arrested for from the story that I got. Like, it wasn't a completely innocent thing, but he was in handcuffs in the back of the van when this accident happened. And there's cameras in the back of the van, so you could see literally what happened. And yeah, I mean, no help was called for him. All the officers treated him like shit. He couldn't stand up, he couldn't move. He was telling them he couldn't. And they all told him, "No, you're just too drunk." When he got to the jail and they were taking him to the jail cell, they kept telling him, "You're just too drunk, that's all." And they ended up putting him in like one of those chairs that you can take them in, and then they left him in a cell and he died.
it's
From what
odd.
I got from it.
There's
Like,
certainly there's a certain level of empathy I think when you have to have when you're a public servant. I mean that's I don't know if they used to refer to if they still refer to folks who are firefighters and police officers
that's
as
what you
public
are.
servants.
That is
You're a
what you
public
are. Yes.
and in this case it's not being a public servant because when you're a servant you have to have some level of empathy for the community that you're serving regardless of what they did. I'm sure certainly there's bad folks that they have
Yep.
to pick up, but at the same time, even though they're innocent until proven guilty, so at the time of arrest there's probable cause, right?
Well,
But
I
you're
don't know
innocent
about
until
being a police officer, but like being a firefighter, being a cop, or being a nurse, being a doctor, there are ethical boards. I'd imagine as an officer, there's some kind of ethical board that you have to follow. Like as a doctor or as a medical personnel, like a paramedic in the back of an ambulance, you can't refuse care to somebody or treat
Mhm.
them like shit just because they did something that you didn't like. Maybe they're a pedophile, maybe they're a spouse abuser. Like, you can't, ethically, you shouldn't treat them any different just because of what they did, because it's
Exactly.
your duty.
Exactly. It's you got to separate the person from the alleged crime or the person from what they're allegedly accused of doing, right? There's
Yeah.
a certain level of human dignity because if you think about that, what happened to that gentleman that he was hurt, that's a human rights violation.
Hmm. Yep. They got zero medical care for him.
S- And now you have the situation. And the reality is, it's not like I don't know how if they decided to charge him personally or not, made him personally liable or not, you know. It's
Yeah,
insane.
there's there is a huge problem in our police force for sure. One of that problem is there is a bunch of white supremacists in it, for sure, without a doubt.
It's completely sad. It's sad. A very hurt. Well, had not kept up with the news, and I didn't realize until you mentioned the Uber driver. I spent a little bit of time reading the article, but very sad. So let's talk about, I was going to say something lighter, but it's not lighter. Jelaine Maxwell.
It's a deep week.
It's a deep week.
Deep.
Jelaine Maxwell and her getting, what she get, 20 years? You know what surprised me
Yeah.
about this case is I did not expect her to give a statement, and she did. She apologized for what she said. Whether people believe it or not, take it or not, she did give an apology, which surprised me. She said that Jeffrey Epstein should have been up there, but she said that she regretted the day that he met him. And I don't know if she insisted that but it kind of seems like it's very interesting, like her background. Like if you
Yes.
look, her dad was a media baron and he was member of parliament. Like, so she was in very, very high levels of society. She was like a socialite. I don't know if he was as much of a socialite as she was, or who brought him into what, but that's a very
Well,
interesting.
it does go all the way back to her daddy. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And he passed under mysterious circumstances. And I don't think they released the complete list of the people that were on his plane on the
They
log. I
didn't.
know
Yeah, they didn't at all.
there was a lot of celebrities on there, a lot of celebrities. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. In some of them, well, like if you're in there once, what if you just went there and But who knows? I don't know what
But
they
you
were
didn't
doing.
know.
I don't know what were they doing? What were they doing? Were they going to his island, or he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna give you a ride home," and then you just automatically just went on your plane? You know what I mean? There's a
Yeah,
big
so
difference
the
between.
the black book I think is the flight log.
Okay. Because if somebody
Yeah.
says, "Hey, I'll take you. Where are you going? You want to go to New York? Hey, I can jump on your plane. We're in California, New York." There's a big difference, right? I just so happened to ride in. I wonder how I'm sure we're never going to get what context it's in, right? So there's a big difference on somebody who flew once to somebody. Well, I mean, who flew once, like
I
from
don't know.
who took a flight from like New York to California to New York because I could get a ride with this guy, or
Yeah, I don't know
they
if it was the
actually.
flight log to the island.
Exactly. I don't know if it was a
Yeah.
flight left to the island. So, because they have like all these celebrities are on there, and it's like, man, I didn't know I was riding with this guy. You know what I mean? Like he just took me from New York to California, or if it was a flight log from where he lived to California. That they've never really to the island. That they've never really clarified. You
Yeah.
know?
I'd imagine though, if you were who you were and you were doing all of those things, that you kept really good notes on who bought what kid and who did what with them, because they live in a blackmail circle. So there's got to be notes on all of that, all of it. And they've got it. And they are not going to let that out at all.
So you think that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine made their money off of blackmailing people?
I don't know if they made it off of blackmailing people. I think they made it off of trafficking. But I think they kept notes just so they had receipts if anybody ever wanted to come out and throw them under the bus.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that theory. I've also heard that theory that there were certain gifts given to Jeffrey, like in the turn in real estate and things of that
Yeah.
nature, that were like, why would this person give him a gift? Why would this person give you
Yeah.
$1 million? You know, unless you're like a great business or insider.
Right. Well, that's what they're saying, that those gifts were buying
Mm.
favors of kids and things, of
So
maybe even other degrees of like even the kids.
I saw a documentary on it was on Netflix as a matter of fact, and it had these young girls that what was sad about it, the young girls, because there were some that they would take on the trips with them that had to look a certain way, and then there was some that he just had an appetite for, that he would have these other high school girls recruit and say, "Hey, come over. Well, they'll give you X amount of money. You don't have to do anything," which they, oh no, you're just going to be there. But there was this one,
Atmosphere, yeah.
yeah. And there was this one girl, and it's so funny because the girls that they did terrorize, a lot of them, not the ones that they took, because they only took certain girls. I think you had to have a certain look for them to take certain girls um, on the plane right to the island and all of those. But the ones that he would take to his Miami house, it was like crossing a bridge. So a lot of them came from very low social economic levels.
Yeah.
So it was the whole thing, just hearing these ladies' testimony was heartbreaking, because not only they were young women that were a lot of times abused before then, but then these two people took advantage of them. And it's funny because there's this one girl, she would actively recruit them. She was crying and saying, "I would actively get girls to go over there with me."
Yeah.
And it was incredibly sad. I hope that some of those ladies get closure, but I can see that that was traumatizing, like completely traumatizing.
Yeah, it's crazy that she only got 20 years and R. Kelly got 30, but yet she's done way more shit than R. Kelly has, because like he was just using these people for himself, those girls that he was messing with, right? Like he was using them for himself. Ghislaine was getting girls for people, for other people, multiple over years, kidnapping people. Like, and she got 20. And I
I
think she gets to come up for parole like in 15 or some shit like that.
Yeah, I don't know the details of R. Kelly. Do you know if he's gonna be able to come up for parole the same way as Jelaine? Do you think he do?
Not
So you
sure.
do you really think that he got um that you feel that he got more? Okay, so I will say this: they both did horrible things.
Sure.
But do you think that because do you think that R. Kelly got a higher sentence than Jelaine because Jelaine was a white female and R.
Mm-mm. I
Kelly's a
think it's
black male?
because she has dirt on people that R. Kelly ain't got dirt on nobody. Like he's just R. Kelly. He was not working with high profile other people and all these things. He was just getting these girls and sleeping with underage girls and stuff like that.
So you
As
don't think that
opposed
there was
to
a yeah.
like her stuff, if you look at what the maximum penalties were for the stuff that she was charged with, like the math is not mathing at all.
30 to 50, I think they wanted to give her
Yeah.
was yeah. And she got
That's
like
like
10 years.
what she should have got was 30 to 50 and she ended up getting 20.
So you think she used her connections?
Oh, I don't even know if it was connections. I think that there are so many people so high up that are involved with that that she didn't have to do shit. She just sat back and let everybody else try to keep the quiet, right? Like there, I'm sure, so many politicians that are involved. There's judges. There's so many people that supposedly went over there that I don't think she really had to do anything as long as she didn't share the notebook. They would get her comfy.
Do
Because, I
you
mean, for all the years that she did it, not only supposedly was there sex trafficking, but supposedly children have been murdered.
Oh, I didn't read that.
Right. Well, that's what they say happens, right? At Epstein's Island is some of these kids are killed for their blood and stuff like that.
I
So I
didn't hear any of
mean,
that. Yeah, I only heard from the only information that I got was really from the documentary where the victims came out and discuss, said that. But I don't recall hearing any of the victims said that they witnessed anything like that.
yeah. What comes back to the whole conspiracy with like the adrenochrome and stuff like that. But that rich people are not just buying children to do those time of sexual favors with, but they're also getting them and people are buying them to kill them, just for the sport of it, just for the fun of it.
Yeah. I
I
have heard
mean,
of
there's
that
a
conspiracy theory. I have heard of it, but I mean, I don't
yeah,
know. I mean, Lane's case, I didn't see any, like, just objectively, like all I heard was really the victims from that Netflix documentary talking about that,
yeah,
like about
but
what
I'm
happened to
sure
them.
there's so many more after all the years that this has happened. There's even a case, I forget where the little girl was kidnapped from, and I don't know if they ever solved it, but the person, because they drew like a picture of the suspect or whatever. The suspect looks just like Ghislaine Maxwell from the sketch that they did. Um, I'll have to look it up. But there was some little girl that was kidnapped. I want to think it was somewhere in Europe. And the sketch of the person looks like Ghislaine Maxwell.
There was one where a little girl was taken from her hotel, but I think they found who that person was through DNA evidence. And it was somebody that was living near there who had a history of that. But with Jelaine, do you think so? There, she was saying that they were threatening her in
Madeline
prison.
McCann. So the girl's name was Madeline McCann. And then the sketch, this is back in, so this article was written in 2020. But yeah,
Was it
I
in
mean,
Portugal? Portugal? Yeah, this is the one I was talking about. I think they found it.
2007.
Yeah, I think they think it was a yeah. They said that they botched it. Yeah, there was new evidence found. That was like a May 6th. So they found that that wasn't I
But
wouldn't they
like, is it though? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it really? Or are they saying that because they know it was Ghislaine?
I don't going into somebody's hotel room knowing that the kid was by themselves. This situation, there was clearly they were observing when the parents left the room. He was a German but lived in Agro between 1995. He's the official suspect. It was so they saying that they said it was this gentleman. I just don't know if she would be planning all of like if she was kind of planning all of that. So yeah, I did read that they had found some other suspect.
Well, the guy is denying that he had any involvement.
I think they had some DNA evidence. I'm not sure. I read something. He's denying it, but who knows? I think it would take a whole lot to pick that child,
Oh, wait a
observe that
minute.
whole situation. Yeah.
So this says, yeah, I don't know what to make of this because the very last part says Madeline has not been found.
No. But they do find another suspect. Yeah, they went into that. I can't remember where I saw it, but they went into some of the details.
Oh, yeah, it says right here Madeline McCann will just be one of those famous cases that everyone has a theory on, but there would be no resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. The sketch of the kidnapped person literally looked just like Ghislaine, though.
Yeah, I just don't know if she would like I don't know. That's an interesting
Supposedly, she
theory.
was in Europe at that time and around that area. Supposedly.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there's theories about what really went on in Epstein's island, but I mean, the world will never know other than kind of just the testimonies of those ladies. Obviously, she's been found guilty. So
They will know eventually when somebody steals those fucking books and
they'll know.
yeah, and opens those logs, because once names are released, people are going to talk, or they're going to die, or they're going
Well,
to
she did
unalive.
release some of those names. Didn't she say Oprah was on there, Tom Hanks, Madonna? But to your point, they don't say in what capacity they went. Clinton was on there. They don't say in what capacity. They say Clinton did go to the island. Um, it was in the documentary. They said that Clinton got to the island,
Yeah,
but they didn't say the celebrity that was really I wasn't sure who went. To your point, just because you were on a plane, right, from one location to another, or don't worry about it, borrow my plane, um which I assume people would do. I don't know, wealthy people may hang
yeah.
like, hey, you
Well,
want to
and
go to Boston,
again,
take my plane.
yeah. Is it the plane list, or is it a list of actual people that were on the island? You
Yeah,
know, like, don't know.
and it's a difference, and I don't know. I mean, I wonder what happened to the island. I wonder who owns it now.
Um, I thought it was like,
Did they sell it?
it says David Scott. I don't know who he is, but that's what it says. Oh wait, who owns it? Todd Michael Glazer bought Epstein's sprawling property for 18.5 million. That's so weird, because there's like, why would you want to own that? Because there's literally like prison cells and stuff type things in it.
That
Such a
would be
weird
some
property to own.
that would be some property that you would have to, like, of course you're not, but bulldoze everything and start anew.
Yeah.
I mean, that's weird. I wonder if he's using it. That's not a property I would like to own
Who is
just
this?
because of the history.
Who is Todd Michael Glazer? Do you know? I'm about to find out.
That is
Most
interesting.
notable real estate developer,
Oh, so maybe he's gonna just tear it down.
Miami. Maybe. Maybe
Tear it
he's
down and
just
be
as
like,
sketchy.
I don't know. I don't know. It was so sad when I heard about that and all those people suffering. I I don't like when people abuse other people because of their, so I don't think a lot of people, because of their social economic level or their status.
Yeah.
Like, it was a whole like sad situation. But again, I was very surprised that she apologized. I was not expecting her to give a statement. She did not take the stand,
Of course not.
by the way. She did not at all. It was all really the testimony against her, but she did not take the stand to say absolutely anything.
Well, yeah, of course not. I mean, I'd imagine Epstein really didn't unalive himself. And if that happened to him, why wouldn't it happen to you? You know?
Yeah. Do you believe the threats? Because she was saying that they were threatening her in jail.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know about the people in jail. I imagine she's getting some threats to keep her mouth shut, for sure.
Gosh, that's gonna be interesting. I wonder if she's gonna come out and I wonder if she'll come out of it. Because when she comes out of it, even if in 15 years, she's gonna be at 75 years old.
I don't know. Maybe she'll unalive herself, like Epstein.
Yeah, there's some people who have this theory that she was the mastermind behind it all.
That quite possibly, because that's what I mean. Like, it all went back to her dad. Apparently, it all started back then.
Yeah. I mean, this was the type of lady that was hanging out with the royals.
Yeah. Who
It's,
already have their own darkness around them.
oh my goodness, their whole thing. That they that's always been a very interesting concept to me. you know, to they're still so influential, but at the same time they say that they're not. I- It's something that they should have gotten, I don't know, rid of a long time ago. There's no need for it.
Oh, the royal family.
Yeah. Tourism? I mean, that's the justification is like, oh, well, they bring a lot of tourism.
Yeah, no, they literally just own shit. That's what they, that's what they do. They don't want to give up power. It's just power.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. They just like own a whole lot of stuff. So yeah, that's kind of a very, very interesting topic. So Johnny Depp's back in the news and
Yeah, with
he
the court case.
is, yeah, did you see he's got to pay the ACLU some money?
Yeah, I think he's only paying half of what they asked
Yeah,
for.
of what they asked for because his um lawyer subpoenaed the ACLU and they're like, "Hey, we don't got the money to pull 900, it's like 1900 documents." Oh, excuse me. 1900
They know
documents
they
is
have an admin to do that shit.
what does it cost him to they wanted to pay, they wanted $100,000 and he's like, "No way, Jose." Well, his attorneys were like, "No way."
Yeah,
I shouldn't say no way,
that's
Jose.
way
Can you say that? I used
excessive.
to say no way, Jose. But
Yeah. Yeah, I think they
yeah.
wanted like 80 something thousand, 88,000 or something like that. That's so excessive to pull some documents, especially since they're the ones who wrote the fucking article.
That was
Like
weird.
he should just
That was
sue the shit out
excessive.
of them. Because if he won against Amber, well, I guess it would be a, I don't know. Now that he has one against Amber, maybe a little bit easier. Probably not so easy in the first case, but I don't think he was to be involved with that. But definitely like making him pay after they did that, that was like just let it go, right? Just call it even. Like, okay, we wrote the article, sorry about it. Don't worry about that money. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
especially since
That
they
whole
didn't apologize.
yeah, that whole situation. I mean, it appears that Johnny, well, at least Johnny left for Europe and he's like, "I'm leaving all of this behind." And
Yeah,
then Amber,
he's moving to oh, what's the name of it? I forget the name of the country right now, but he had asked, basically made some kind of press conference there and asked them, thanking them, and this is where he's going to start his new life. uh it may come to me in a little bit. I think it starts with an S, but I'm not sure. Some, not Somalia.
is it in Europe?
um
I'm just
let me
curious where
see
he wants
here.
to like move out. I mean, heck, he had like a and live his
Serbia.
like Serbia.
Yep, Serbia.
Wow. I would have never guessed that. That he
Yeah, I
wants to
thought
move
it
out
was
there.
clear, but I mean, why not, right? Like, peace out.
Yeah, move wherever he wants to move and just enjoy life and and I don't know, like what he wants to do with it. Like he's getting at the age, like these actors are getting at their age, they're like pushing 60 in some of their cases, 60 already, where at
Yeah,
some point you have to calm down. Like you're on your last leg and have to, are you going to be alone for the rest of your life? Or are you going to be dating these women that are so much younger? Or are you going to find somebody to take care of you and just kind of like enjoy whatever you have left?
yeah, just enjoy being chill and somebody who's
Yeah.
gonna keep a low profile and actually care about you, or care
Yeah.
about your well-being. And yeah.
It's that point, kind of like what Robert Redford did, he kind of like, okay, he was like the it actor along with Paul Newman, and then at some point he decided, well, I'm going, from in front of the camera to behind the camera, and he married this low-key artist, like she was an artist, similar to what Keanu's doing, right? Like dated somebody that was a little bit more age appropriate, older, um, and just kind of like just chill with that
Yeah.
person for the rest of your life, as opposed to just because at some point I would think that you would get tired of just dating one woman. Speaking of Marilyn Manson, I didn't realize he was married.
Right now?
I, yeah,
Oh, I had no
yeah,
idea.
yeah. I didn't know he had a wife.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
that kind of makes it a weirder situation, right?
yeah. And there was this lady who, wait, let me see. Let me look it up because I almost positive I read that and I was like, what? He has a wife? And let's see. He was married to, gosh, I don't think it's her. She looks like Dita Von Teese, but it's not Dita Von Teese. It's Lindsay Usish. Usish.
Hmm.
She looks like Dita. They have pictures of Dita. He married her in private ceremony during the COVID lockdown. Yeah, he has a wife. Yeah, he's a wife now.
Yeah. Oh, I
Her
see that.
name is yeah. Did you see her?
Lindsay Usich, yeah.
She's a
Floridian
photographer.
Mason's current wife is a what? Marilyn
Yeah.
Manson's wife, Lindsay Usich, is a Floridian Manson's current wife. Lindsay, okay, okay. All right, so she's 37, 38. She was born in 84.
She's not young. Like she's
Hey
about 10
now, hey
years.
now. She's not young.
No, but what I'm saying, she's not that young. Like
Yeah,
how
she's not a little
he was
young
dating
girl,
these
yeah.
really, yeah, she's not like 18, 19. She's like a woman. So he's like about 10 years older than her. But yeah, yeah, which to me I thought it was very interesting because it made it kind of it makes it a bit, I would say, not awkward, but a little awkward, right? Now he's like suing Evan Rachel Woods, but yeah, he's in a relationship with I'm gonna call her, mature, not
Yeah.
saying like a woman, and
So
he's married. So I thought that was interesting,
this
and I
says that
found
she's
that
being
out when I was.
implicated as well.
How is she being implicated if he's the one that's suing for he's suing Evan Rachel Woods?
So it said Manson's current wife, Lindsay Usich, got implicated in the 52-year-old artist's alleged abuse of several women, including Evan Rachel Woods.
Yeah. I don't know how she's
Yeah.
being implicated because they didn't. I'm curious.
Yeah, it's kind of strange because, I mean, if he's so abusive, I mean, he's got this wife, he's had a wife before. The wife before said that her experience was not of that. Tita Von Teese says the same thing. I mean,
There was this lady
currently
who dated
married.
him.
I don't
There's
know.
this
I mean,
lady who dated him that said that she didn't have any issues with him. And then there was this other lady who was his assistant that interviewed, and he seems to have a type,
yeah,
like dark hair.
dark hair, white,
Yeah, he
white pale
likes
skin. Yeah,
white pale skin. Like he has a type that he likes. So even his assistant looked like that. And she said, like, look, I've known Marilyn for, she didn't speak highly of any of these girls
yeah,
that he knew, and she knew all of them. But it's so, in reality, nobody what who goes knows what goes on in a relationship. Only the two people that are behind closed doors, and that's what makes it so. Like, I could think you're an amazing person, charming, everything, and you never show that side of yourself.
right.
I don't know what that side of your I don't know. I don't know that side of that intimate side of you. I'm not going to know that. The only
But
person that's going to know that is your wife,
if someone's abusive,
girlfriend.
though, most of the time they're not only abusive to one person, like spout, like guys, for instance, if they're abusive to one girl, they're more than likely abusive to the next one and any person that they are with. It's not usually exclusive when they're an abusive person.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know, for so many people, and this is just my take on this, I think that Manson is just a dark person who likes dark things, and he has seemed to have found maybe other people that are into the same thing as him, and maybe that's why those people have come out and said my experience was not of that, because they consented as adults to have whatever style relationship it was. If it was dark things, maybe they didn't consider it abuse because they too consented to whatever was going on, right? It was a mutual darkness, we'll call it, for instance. Because, I mean, to have the current wife not coming out and saying anything and taking the opportunity to divorce him if that was going on, right? For all the Me Too's coming out. I don't know. I That would be one where instead of people again just ruining his life over it, I think should be heard, because the story sounds very familiar with her telling it. Like literally almost word for word of what we heard from Amber.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I don't know, because it is an industry that, and I think it would be different. It would be coming from somebody that I would call like a civilian, right? In terms of not in the entertainment industry, it would hit a little bit differently. But being in that industry, not we're not in the industry, but knowing how that industry works and how, like, bad publicity, good publicity is publicity,
yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
it doesn't matter. It's very it's very concerning, and I hate to say it, but because of Amber, it's making people, because of Amber and people who work in that entertainment industry, it's becoming like people are not as,
You can't
how should I
cancel
put
them
it?
as easy. You're gonna have to
Yeah, and
prove your
they're
story a little more.
exactly. Now, if it was if it was another situation, because I really don't think that it's going to impact like all women,
Normal
like they're
people.
saying but I don't think it's going to impact normal people as much as it's going to impact somebody who's,
Yeah.
um,
The people are gonna have to have the money to fight it. Right.
yeah,
So a normal guy is gonna have the money to pay for a really good lawyer to fight the case of something like that for sure.
yeah, and in these, I don't know, it's just hard because Evan Rachel Woods was so young and Marilyn was so much older, and what she may have what she may have thought was okay at the time, in hindsight she said, I wasn't okay with this. But at the same time, it's like, why would you wait so long to say something?
But she
Or
came out with a statement after they split up, basically praising him and talking about how good their relationship was. Like, I don't know. Like, why would you make a statement like that? After y'all split up, if it was so terrible and you were abused, why not just let it go? Why make the effort to come out and say how good it was and that them splitting up had nothing to do with any kind of anything? I don't know. I've been listening to a girl literally reading all the documents for the case so far, and it literally sounds like her and Amber got together and was like, "Listen, we're going to do this." Cuz their stories are identical in how they describe what happened. And then I've heard conflicting too, right? Because Evan Rachel Wood talked about how she was um what's the word?
groomed.
Crap. Yeah, groomed. There you go. But yet, supposedly, she didn't meet Manson until she was 19.
Yeah, she said she met him first when she was 17, but she didn't have a relationship with him until she was like, to your point, 18, 19 is what she stated.
Yeah, something like that. So I mean, I don't know. Like I I need to hear more of it, but I've been listening to this girl reading all the documents for it so far, and I don't know. I mean, it's not looking in favor of Evan Rachel Wood so far.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's, if it happened, horrible, 'cause I'm still keeping an open mind. If it didn't, I feel it was a young woman who did things she was not comfortable with, didn't say anything at the time, later realized, "Hey, wait a minute, this was abusive," but it doesn't necessarily give you the right to slander that person, like,
Right. Well,
after the
was it
fact.
abusive though? That's the thing. Was it abusive? If you told that person, yes, I'm into this
Yeah,
because you
you were
wanted
young,
to
whatever.
be on their side or whatever. And
Yeah, and then
like,
figure out, like, "Crap, I didn't
yeah,
like that."
yeah. We talked about that right before of like making stupid decisions and then trying to come back and say, oh, look what you did when we ourselves put ourselves in that situation.
Yeah, at some level, you have to take some personal responsibility for, I mean, and their learnings, right? For for being in a bad relationship, right?
Hmm.
Um, you know, and that's that. Some people break up early on and say, "Hey, this relationship's not for me. We lasted 6 months. Thank you, no, thank you." And then some
Yep.
people stay longer and say, "Well, I'm gonna try to make it work," knowing that the relationship is abusive and no good for you, or toxic. And
Yeah,
toxicity can go both ways. Um, I mean, there's a saying in Spanish, "Hay amores que matan," and roughly translated, it means you can be in love with a person, that necessarily doesn't mean that that person is good for you. Like,
sure. Yeah.
and
Toxic relationship. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
yeah, at the end of the day, it's a toxic relationship. So I'm curious how that's all going to pan out. I wonder if the trial is going to be televised, similar to Amber and Johnny's. This is something that I would probably listen to, but I
Well,
don't
since
know.
she made a documentary out of it and broadcasted the entire thing, I would think that he would be able to pretty much have the court case wherever he wanted, just like Johnny.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious I'm curious if that's going to be what that's going to look like,
Yeah. I
for
think it's
sure.
going to be way different than their case for sure because I don't know. I feel like Manson is just a darker cupcake. You know what I'm saying? Like just into maybe those style of life, and that's who he's found to be with, and then found somebody that, or a few somebodies that weren't on the same page but thought they were on the same page, and it was like, oh shit, hold on a minute.
You're
um
into that? Because to your right, there's situations where people aren't compatible in that sense of intimacy, right? Like, and
some
that's
people
where,
think it's a joke, right?
yeah.
Like, oh, you're into BDSM, okay. But don't realize that shit's no joke.
Well, so
Like,
here's the thing. And this is so, like, say, soft, right? When you're talking about that, but like, you're not pouring candle wax on me. I'm just saying, and that's like, and that's
and that's
minimal,
nothing.
and
That's
that's nothing.
nothing. Yeah.
But you're not doing all that. Like, that's not that's not. But when you have somebody who's really young, they may be like, "Oh, oh, that hurt," right? Because it technically can
Yeah,
burn
I've gotten
you,
plenty
right?
of stupid shit. Yeah.
Yeah, it can burn you. And then you're like doing like, "Oh, I'm not into that." But let me tell you, you're not doing that. Like, I'm not allowing that for me, and that's not
Yeah.
gonna be my cup of tea.
Oh
So,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's about
After I
drawing
dated
those
my
lines.
ex, after I dated my ex, my kid's father, I was torn down in that relationship, and so I kind of was just seeking someone to love me after that, and thought,
Mhm,
you know, certain guys would love me, and if I was a certain way and I just fit into whatever it is that they were looking for, right?
mhm,
Like even if it wasn't something I was into, I just wanted them to love me. And so I would be whatever this thing is that they
Mm,
wanted, that they were looking for, so I could be their perfect idea of what love was to them, right?
mm,
And yeah, I mean, I've experienced quite an eclectic amount of crazy things. Like, but to look back and go, oh wow, like this person was that, or you know, I can't do that because was I damaged? Yes, but did I put myself there? Yes. Did I accept and say yes, this is what I want to do? I did. And so to look back on those, my ex was a different story.
mm.
That whole situation was way different because I didn't want what was going on in that.
Yeah.
But it continued to happen and I did not know how to leave. Way different. It was complete physical and mental abuse. But in the other ones, it wasn't necessarily that, but it was just the play of it, but
Yeah.
not the actual abuse of it. So, yeah,
Yeah, I know for sure. I completely get that. Like, that is, something that, I mean, people need to learn how to draw the line with. And to your point, you know, you, they're meeting these celebrities. They're very, very young, and now it's like, wait a minute, didn't like that. But if you're not strong enough to be vocal, I do think that one thing I think is unfair that she is doing is she's saying, when I met him, I was a teenager. Yeah, you met him, you were a teenager. But 18, whether you're young or not, that's the
you're an adult.
legal age. You're an
Yeah.
adult, right? You were a teenager by age, but you're an adult. And I thought that
And
that
that's
was a
not
little,
grooming.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I thought that that was kind of, I thought it was an interesting take on it. Um, So again, I'm still keeping kind of like a really open mind about the situation.
Right.
Hopefully, we get the opportunity to see the trial and see what evidence is brought in. But you're right, Marilyn is a darker cupcake. He made his career out of being out of the box extreme.
Yep.
He may be into some extreme stuff, and just
Yeah,
or
he's not
may
as low profile as Johnny was at all.
no, no, and I think Johnny played a beloved character. Like, people liked Marilyn was scary. I mean, when Marilyn
Yeah.
first came out, he was
He's
this.
still scary.
He's still scary.
Yeah.
Although I do see him a little bit more.
When he talks in his normal voice, it's a little bit different. I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But when he first came out, it was shock. It was basically, what is it? I don't know if that's a genre, but it was kind of like shock rock, kind of like in your face. You saw this guy really thin with these kind of like really grotesque, weird images.
Yeah.
Um, very, bizarre and weird, but apparently he's a
Names of
really
the
nice guy.
songs,
The names of the
what happened in the
songs.
songs. Yeah, yeah, they were.
Yeah. So it was pretty scary stuff. Well, at least I was scared. I mean, there's people would have been like, "Whoa, I love this guy," but yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty scary. And now you can see. I mean, he still wears his makeup and everything, but he looks like a much older. I mean, he is
Yeah.
older. He's not the young guy
He's
that first
actually
came
put on
out.
a little bit of weight, more filled
Yeah,
out.
more
Yeah.
filled out. It's looking more like a man,
Yeah.
not just some,
Young kid.
rock
Yeah.
outfits. Yeah, young kid. So I don't know. I'm just curious. And he's married, which I thought that was really just blew my mind when I was like, oh, wait a minute, he's in a full blown relationship. I don't think she said anything. His wife has made any sort of statement, but I'm sure she'll take the stand if she has to.
Yeah, I would imagine if they try to attack his character, that would be one of the biggest ones to look at. But yeah, this case is way different because this isn't about an article. This is literally about a documentary. This is about multiple interviews. It's a little bit different.
Yeah. Well, we shall see. I don't know, Michelle. I think it's about that time.
All right.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Subscribe so you know whenever we drop each episode. Have a good night.
Night.